ask Prime Minister the Most Honorable Andrew Holness and President Kenyatta to take to the lectern. And may I then officially begin. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Ambassador Monica Juma, the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and in Kenya, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in Jamaica, other Ministers of Government of the Republic of Kenya and Jamaica, Excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Permanent Secretaries and government officials, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and especially to our visiting delegation from Kenya, a warm Jamaican welcome to Jamaica. We thank you for being here, and now we'll have statements by Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, and His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. May we then ask Prime Minister Holness to begin. His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, and I believe I can dispense with the protocol and say, my brother, welcome to Jamaica.
Thank you very much.
Ambassador Monica Juma, Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kenya, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for Jamaica, other Ministers of Government of the Republic of Kenya and Jamaica, Excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Permanent Secretaries, officials of government, representatives of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am delighted to welcome my brother and friend, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, and his delegation on this historic visit to Jamaica. The President and Mrs. Kenyatta are our special guests for the celebration of the 57th anniversary of our independence. I am particularly pleased that both the President and his lovely wife have accepted my invitation to visit Jamaica during our national festivities. We very much hope that they will enjoy the cultural displays from our music to our dance traditions and our food, as well as the warm hospitality for which Jamaicans are renowned. While the President will also experience a little bit of rural Jamaica on his visit to the Dembe Agricultural Showgrounds in Clarendon, we will ensure that he gets some time off to visit the Bob Marley Museum, as I know, Mr. President, that you are a great fan of the legend.
Absolutely.
Mr. President, your presence here today and your recent appointment of the very first Kenyan High Commissioner to Jamaica reflects the growing relationship between Jamaica and Kenya. Indeed, this demonstrates to us your deep personal commitment to the Jamaica-Kenya partnership and to developing stronger ties with CARICOM as well. Today, Mr. President, we have engaged in critical discussions on issues of mutual interest to Jamaica and Kenya. The robust dialogue we have just had builds on our fruitful exchanges last year, including at the G7 in Canada, and takes forward our strong desire to increase trade and investment ties and to expand economic and technical cooperation. In so doing, we have agreed that we must now optimize the potential of our historical relations to yield concrete benefits in our cooperation efforts. Here, I emphasize that the Jamaica-Kenya relations are deeply rooted in our historical connection with the African continent, which predates the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1976. It is well documented that our first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, had a significant influence on Jomo Kenyatta, the first Prime Minister of Kenya and later its first president. He is, of course, President Kenyatta's late father. Jomo Kenyatta was an ardent advocate for Kenya's independence and was a student of Garvey's teaching on unification and Pan-Africanism. That experience contributed to his efforts to create and lead a unified Kenya after the country gained independence, as well as his solidarity with other great African leaders pushing for Africa's liberation, unity, and development. In that context, we also recall the late Dudley Thompson as a Jamaican lawyer and Pan-Africanist in East Africa. He was resolute in his staunch defense of Jomo Kenyatta when he was charged with treason by the British colonialist government of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, these long-standing fraternal connections between Jamaica and Kenya have undoubtedly helped to inspire and deepen the solidarity between our two countries today. As we move to capitalize on our historically positive relations, the President and I agreed that improving trade in goods and services, increasing investments, and facilitating the movement of people must be central to our strategy. Kenya is recognized among the top 10 fastest growing economies in Africa. That continent will remain in 2019 as the region with the world's fastest growing economies. Like us, Kenya is showing positive macroeconomic results. It is time, therefore, that we look beyond the customary fraternal bonds and seek ways to create and measurable economic and commercial activity to secure greater prosperity for our countries and peoples. President Kenyatta and I have warmly welcomed the interest of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry in strengthening economic linkages, including through signing a memorandum of understanding between the two chambers. Last December, Jamaica and Kenya signed an air services agreement. And today, we also discussed how to utilize that instrument to advance our goal of deeper engagement through increased trade and travel. Our two foreign ministers have just now signed a framework agreement on cooperation, which creates a structured mechanism for regular dialogue to pursue meaningful and defined cooperation activities in areas such as trade, agriculture, sports, culture, education, tourism, and health. Ladies and gentlemen, our two governments also welcome the signing of 3 MOUs, namely the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in the fields of sport, culture, and heritage, the Memorandum of Understanding on political consultations, as well as the Memorandum of Understanding on cooperation in the field of tourism. We are equally confident that with the signing of these MOUs, the relations between our two countries will be strengthened and advanced. At the multilateral level, we have been collaborating actively within the context of the Commonwealth, the ACP group of states, and at the United Nations. We are particularly appreciative of the strong support that Kenya provided during Jamaica's presidency of the ACP Council last year. And we wish Kenya every success as it now prepares to host the next ACP summit in Nairobi later this year. During our talks today, we emphasize the significance of international cooperation and partnership in the effective implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and of course, critical issues to do with climate change and managing our oceans. Once again, we commend Kenya's leadership in championing these global issues. President Kenyatta, it is both a pleasure and a distinct honor to host you and to engage on these matters in the spirit of friendship and cooperation that has characterized Jamaica-Kenya relations over the last 43 years. I am hopeful that our renewed commitment showcased today will propel Jamaica-Kenya relations to unprecedented heights as we work towards achieving peace and prosperity for the benefit of both our peoples. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. And now I invite the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, to speak.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, dear brother, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, members of your cabinet, members of the Kenyan delegation, and all senior government officials from both our countries, as well as members of the Fourth Estate. Let me, once again, dear brother, start by thanking you. And indeed, your government and the people of Jamaica most sincerely for the very warm reception that you have accorded me and my delegation since we arrived in this beautiful city of Kingston. And let me once again thank you for inviting me to come and join you and the people of Jamaica on this auspicious occasion of 57 years of your independence. I take this opportunity to congratulate all Jamaicans for attaining this age. Honorable Prime Minister, as you've said, Kenya and Jamaica share a legacy of strong, cordial, bilateral, and people-to-people relations that have been developed and strengthened over years. Indeed, as you have said, this relationship stems back well before our two countries' respective independence and during the period of struggle, where men like Marcus Garvey were an inspiration to the forefathers of our independence, and men like Dudley Thomas were at the center of the struggle, giving legal counsel to some of those who had been wrongly imprisoned by the colonialists at the time, including my own father. So being here is both, for me, personal, a moment of personal joy, but also one that seeks to reestablish those old links for the betterment of the peoples of our two countries, and in order to increase and deepen that bond or those bonds of friendship that were established those many years ago. Indeed, as the Prime Minister has said, we have had the opportunity to meet on the sidelines of several international meetings, including the G7 summit in Quebec, but also on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And at each time, we resolve that we must work even closer for the benefit of our two sister nations. Prime Minister, I believe that today we have taken our bilateral relations to another level with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on political consultations, as well as the framework for cooperation that we have just witnessed our two ministers sign. This signing of this MOU plus the other agreements presents us with an opportunity for collaborating in the areas of sports and culture, especially in athletics, where Kenya and Jamaica are global powerhouses. Our Kenyan athletes excel in the long and middle distance races, while Jamaican athletes excel in the short distance races. There is definitely room for us to partner here. And this cooperation will therefore leverage on the existing comparative advantages to strengthen sports through the development of common training facilities for the benefit of the young people of both our two countries. As we have said earlier, Prime Minister, one sure way of ensuring that we deepen the partnership between our two countries is to encourage greater economic partnership between our two countries, to develop and to deepen trade. We had looked at our numbers and we have seen that this trade is almost non-existent. We need to deepen our economic relations, because it's by so doing that we also take our people-to-people relations to the next level. Kenya today is one of the largest and most diversified economies on the African continent, and it also serves as a hub for logistics, air transport, financial services, ICT innovations. And here again, we encourage Jamaican investors as much as Prime Minister Holness was encouraging Kenyan investors to come together through our respective chambers and to take advantage of the opportunities that our two countries offer for further economic integration of our two countries, ultimately leading also with the signing of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, with the African market also opening up to Jamaica and to other countries in the Caribbean as well. The Prime Minister has also mentioned that we have had the opportunity also this afternoon to deliberate on existing opportunities for cooperation in air transport, especially now that our national carrier, Kenya Airways, has scheduled direct flights from Nairobi to New York. But as we were saying, we would like to see flights flying from the East Coast to the West Coast of Africa and directly to Jamaica and through Jamaica to the rest of the Caribbean as a true way of deepening that partnership. We have also had the opportunity to discuss how we can explore opportunities for cooperation also in tourism, in the blue economy sectors, all that hold tremendous potential for wealth and job creation to the benefit of our respective citizens. We've also, again, had the opportunity to discuss our diaspora that contributes greatly to the national development of our two respective countries, but Jamaica definitely, in terms of percentage, has a much higher percentage of its citizens who live and work abroad and who contribute significantly to the growth and development of Jamaica. We said that this is again an area where we can deepen that cooperation and collaboration to see how we can develop policies and programs that can ensure that this diaspora can continue to contribute even more deeply to the social economic development of our two countries. We did indeed affirm, because the Prime Minister was telling me that the Jamaican diaspora is everywhere in almost every country on this earth. So he was wondering about the possibility of whether there is a Jamaican diaspora in Kenya. And I told him that, yes, I can confirm, given the fact that my wife's brother's mother comes from Jamaica. So, and she lives in Kenya and has lived all her life. So, for sure, you are everywhere. And we need to continue to work to see how we can continue to deepen our people-to-people relations as we also take advantage of our diaspora. Prime Minister, Kenya is a very strong supporter of South-South cooperation arrangements within the African, Caribbean, and Pacific States framework. And as I have done earlier, I commit again here that my government will remain steadfast in the push for the conclusion of the successor agreement and the accompanying regional protocols in time ahead of the expiry of the Cotonou Agreement in February of next year. Finally, Prime Minister, I would like to take this opportunity to request you to send a delegation to the forthcoming Commonwealth Women's Affairs ministerial meetings that will be hosted in Kenya from the 17th to the 20th of September. And finally, I take this opportunity to welcome you, Prime Minister, at a time of your convenience, to a state visit to Kenya, hopefully at the time also of the ACP summit that will be held in Nairobi towards the end of the year. And I believe that this will go a long way to deepening the already growing, solid partnership and cooperation that exists between our two governments, but more importantly, between our two nations and her peoples. Thank you for the invitation, and we're happy to be with you.
Thank you, President Kenyatta. And may we have an official handshake? PM, could you, if you could step on this side, right? So you switch sides, essentially, and have the official handshake for me. Yes, thank you. And now for the photographers. Thank you so much, President Kenyatta, Prime Minister Holness. And President Kenyatta, I do know that you have a very packed agenda, and you do have a state dinner this evening at King's House. The Governor General is awaiting your presence. Before you go, may we invite you to sign the courtesy book. And we are aware that President Kenyatta and the entire delegation spent 24 hours traveling to Jamaica. So we do appreciate your being here, and we invite you to enjoy all that Jamaica has to offer. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Another round of applause for President Kenyatta and Prime Minister Holness. And so we thank President Kenyatta and the entire delegation for being with us this afternoon. We look forward to hosting you to the engagements tomorrow on Independence Day, the Grand Gala, and of course, at Denby 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being at the office of the Prime Minister. Happy Independence and good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who remain with us, there is refreshments right to the back of the room, well, the front of the room, really, which is behind the blue curtains. So there are refreshments. If you wish to partake, you may do so.